Hey, welcome back to my kitchen. My name is Shanae, and today I'm going to show you how to make red velvet macarons, one of my favorite classic macaron flavors. And this recipe is a little advanced from my basic macaron recipe. And if you're new to making macarons, be sure to check out my basic macaron recipe video. I will link it up here. But if you're perfected your macaron techniques and you would like to move on to more advanced recipes, this is it. We're going to use lots of gel food coloring and other ingredients that makes this recipe a little more advanced. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to achieve that beautiful, intense red color. And there's a little bit secret to it. So let's get started. So for this recipe, you will need powdered sugar, almond flour, egg whites, granulated sugar, a little bit cocoa powder, cream of tartar and salt, vanilla extract, and red gel food coloring. I like to use Americolor food gel coloring. They have beautiful color and everything. So let's get started with making our meringue first. So in a very clean mixing bowl, we'll add egg whites and whip it until foamy. And once there's a little foam forms, we'll add our cream of tartar and salt. And then once it's more foamy, we'll start adding our sugar 1 tablespoon at a time. I like to whip my meringue at low and steady speed without gradually increasing the speed. That it's very stable meringue. If you would like to learn more information about how I make my meringue, I will link it up here. It's very in-depth French meringue technique video where I discuss the reasonings behind why I do certain things. So let's get started with the meringue, and while the meringue is whipping, I'll sift the dry ingredients. It's a little foamy, so I'm going to add cream of tartar and salt. Cream of tartar is optional ingredient, but it helps to stabilize the egg whites, and I highly recommend it, but you can omit it if you need to. So my meringue reached soft peaks. Soft peaks is when you lift your whisk, the peak falls down a little bit like this, and this is perfect soft peak stage. And at this point, we're going to add our food coloring and a little bit vanilla. Now, let's talk about what red velvet flavor is. The red velvet flavoring is, in my opinion, perfect combination of hint of chocolate and hint of vanilla. That's why I'm adding cocoa powder and a little bit vanilla extract. Also, we need quite a bit of red gel food coloring. And here's the secret to that perfect deep red color is using not only just food coloring, but also a little bit cocoa powder. If you don't want to use cocoa powder, you can omit it by any means, because you just won't have that little bit hint of chocolate flavor, but you will lose the depth of redness. So instead, you can use a little bit of brown food coloring too in combination with red. And because we're going to use quite a bit of food coloring, it's absolutely must to use gel food coloring and don't use liquid food coloring, because we're also adding liquid in the form of vanilla extract. So too much liquid will compromise the quality of meringue and will lead to many different issues. And I've tested this recipe with powdered food coloring. It works. You have to use a lot of it, and it still doesn't have that bright red color. So I'm going to use 1 teaspoon of red food coloring. And this is why I was telling this is a little advanced recipe, is because we're adding so much additional ingredients like lots of food coloring, vanilla extract, and cocoa powder. In my chocolate macaron recipe, I will link it up here, I went over details of different brands of cocoa powder affects macaron shells. So we're complicating the recipe with additional ingredients. That's why I said if you haven't mastered your macaron technique, this would be a little bit advanced. If you are a risk taker, by all means, you can start your macaron journey with red velvet macarons, but don't expect too much because, again, it requires a lot of technique. And if you go to my website, I have a whole page dedicated to mastering your macarons. I also have a series of videos dedicated to mastering your macaron techniques. I will link it up here as well. You can watch that playlist to each technique. So let's go back to making our meringue. I'm going to scoop out this food coloring. Using a meringue color doesn't make your mouth colored or anything when you bite into them. So I really like this brand. Okay, now add a little bit vanilla. And we're going to whisk it until the meringue reaches stiff peaks, and I'll show you what that means. So my meringue reached perfect stiff peak stage. This is exactly what we're looking for. And now we're going to sift our dry ingredients one more time into the meringue. Sifting is very important for that beautiful smooth shells. And you discard up to 1 tablespoon of chunky bits. And now we're going to start the macaronage. And I'll show you when the perfect consistency reached. It will start really thick and then it will get runnier and runnier. See, it's getting better. And beautiful color. Did you notice how dry ingredients deepened the color, darkened it? And before it was kind of like deep pink color. We're almost there. At this point, I start testing my batter every 3 to 4 folds, and I usually use my 10-second method, which means I will fold it a few times, and then I scoop out enough batter, and then slowly drop it into a ribbon into the bowl. And it doesn't have to be perfect ribbon, and then we'll tilt it. And then what we're looking for is to see if the edges of the dropped batter, we'll call it ribbon, melts back into the batter within 10 seconds. If it melts within like 5 seconds or something super fast, that means it's overmixed. And we want it to slowly melt into the batter within about 10 seconds, like in 8-9 seconds, it should completely melt it back into the batter. It's a little too thick to my liking, so I'm gonna give it another couple turns. And then tilt it. Pretty much done. I'm going to transfer it into my piping bag fitted with a round tip. This spatula is my favorite spatula. I'll drop my affiliate link in the description below. It's perfect because it has smooth one whole piece. I'm using my template that I made. You can download this template on my website. Just go to my website for red velvet macarons. I'll put the link to my red velvet macaron recipe in the description below, where you can find details of the ingredients and the full recipe, and you can also download this template. And you will need 2 trays of this template. And I'm going to pipe my macarons right now. remove the template. And we're going to tap it on the bottom to release any air bubbles that's trapped inside. You can also tap it on the counter like so. I prefer to do it on the bottom. I see little bubbles here, so I'm going to burst them with this toothpick. Beautiful, they're looking so perfect. Now I'm going to let the macarons rest for about 10-15 minutes until it forms a skin. So my first batch of macarons is dried, and when I lightly touch my fingertip on top, it should not stick to your fingers. And it looks a little matte too, and it's ready to go into the oven at 300 degrees for about 18 minutes. Sometimes it takes 20 minutes, and we'll see you when they come out. So while our macaron shells are baking, we'll go ahead and make our filling. And what's better than cream cheese filling for red velvet macarons? So that's what we're gonna make. And for this filling, you're gonna need cream cheese, butter, powdered sugar, a little bit salt, and vanilla extract. And it's really simple to make. We'll go ahead and add our softened butter and cream cheese into a mixer and whip it until it's nice and fluffy and well combined, about a minute or so. And this filling is really easy to double or even triple or quadruple. And I'm just making a little bit, just enough for our macaron shells. Make sure to scrape the bowl on the sides and whisk as well, because we want to make sure to combine everything well. And because it's such a little amount of ingredients, it takes a little bit harder to mix in a big mixer. And now we'll go ahead and add our powdered sugar and salt. And start mixing on low and gradually increase the speed and whip it until it's nice and fluffy and smooth. And I'm going to scrape the sides again to make sure all the powdered sugar goes into the filling. And add a little bit vanilla extract. And whip it until it's nice and fluffy and smooth. So the frosting is ready, perfectly smooth, and I'm going to transfer it into the piping bag. It's really hot in my kitchen right now, so my frosting is a little warm and runny, but that's okay. I will just go ahead and pop it in my fridge for about 15 minutes or so until it firms up, and by that time my shells are gonna come out cool and ready to be filled. So my macarons are baked and completely cooled, and now I'm going to pair them and going to fill them. So my macarons are nicely paired, and I'm going to fill with my cream cheese frosting. See, it's nicely firmed up in the fridge. We'll see the consistency now. Just pipe it into the center. There you go. Or you can actually just pipe around like that. Perfect. Perfect. Now, as we know, we can't dive in right away because we need to mature the macarons for at least 24 hours. With cream cheese filling though, because it's wet filling, you can actually mature them for about 8 hours and enjoy in an 8 hours. But right now they will be super soft. I can't wait, so I'm gonna give it a try. But I know the filling is going to ooze out and everything, so I'm prepared. It's perfect. Look at the thin, crisp crust on top, full and sweet and tangy. It's perfection. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you will make this red velvet macarons. And if you do, please share your feedback on my website under the recipe post, or come back to this video and share your comment in the comments below. I'll see you next time. Bye.